was more
that
on my
applies to
horn
everybody.
for the person two cars in front of us
Right.
than anything because they were the first in line.
Yeah.
I knew he had to wait for her.
Right.
Right.
I'm
But
like,
it made
let's
him mad.
go. Yeah, he
Well,
got mad.
there's I try for the most part, I know people don't pay attention. You can see them on their phone. I saw one girl one time. She literally had her legs, her feet up on the dashboard, and she's driving a car looking at her phone. I
Oh
couldn't
my
believe it. That
God.
when I went to the police, I got her license plate and went to the police, but they aren't going to do anything. You
Oh
know,
my
her
God. That
feet were on
is
both feet
crazy.
on the dashboard.
I don't know. I do cut people a little slack when they're at a light and they didn't notice it changed. And that's only because of my kids. And
Yeah.
my kids are like, Dad, you know what? Yeah, I'll be looking down and maybe texting. I try to keep an eye on the light. If I don't, somebody toots behind me and I get going. But you have to understand, Dad, I'm doing that so that I'm not texting while I'm driving.
Yeah.
And so that changed my perception. But I'll tell you what really changes my perception. If somebody just did something that annoyed me or I thought was wrong, I, for an instant, say, okay, that's Jenna in that car who just did that. And it's amazing. You find so much more patience, like instantly, if just make it personal or something.
Yeah, I mean, I know they make mistakes. I know they don't pay attention. I know they don't plan ahead. That's stuff that for me is forgivable, but this guy shoving his car into me because he
Yes.
was
Oh my
entitled to get
God.
in front of me, that was wrong.
That
Um,
is way wrong. You
so
know what? I think I think these are good ideas to do a show because I think um I'll say this and it'll be the final thing. I swear to God, we'll get working on this. But I see more bumper stickers all over the place that say, please be patient, student driver. And I'm like, okay, maybe there have been a lot of people who went through whatever company this is, and they had it on the car. They didn't pull it off when the person became a real driver. Or I'm like, wait, is this some sort of a scam? You're trying to get, an extra 5 seconds out of me or something because now I'm supposed to be sympathetic that you're a student driver, but you look like you're a 65-year-old guy. Student driver, my ass.
65.
All right,
Uh,
I'm ready to go. It looks like I have everything.
oh, I gotta bring up my clock. Let me see. I'm gonna do that in this phone. I'm all out of whack here, being out here in Cali, where the gas is double what it is out there.
Oh, well, you know what? I know part of it is California, I think, of all the states, has the most added on taxes per gallon. Um, pray
Yes,
tell
and
us.
there was something in the news today that they're not collecting enough tax. They're losing money on their taxing, so they want to tax some more.
You
So
know,
Mark was like very resistant to buying a house in California, but I'm like, but he's there. It'll be, the average. We looked it up. There was an article in I might talk about this in I think it was a Wall Street Journal or I don't know where it was, but anyway, it was talking about how Gen Zs are having trouble affording a home. You know, because the income is not high enough, the costs are high, the rates are high, and they kind of highlighted certain places, and they said that the either average or median price for a home in California is like 787,000. And that's probably a
oh
love shack.
my God.
That's a lot of money
That's a
for
lot of, and I'll tell you this. I've been doing this show on Fridays where I try to have a half an hour that is intergenerational. So I'll get usually three, sometimes four people who belong to different generations. And then we'll talk about something that applies to all of them. So, maybe we'll talk about music. And this young person that you wouldn't think says, no, I really love the Beatles. And the older person is like, oh my God, I love Metallica. And so you get a little interchange on that. We were talking about how much everything costs more than it did 2 years ago.
Yeah,
And
I heard some of that, a little bit of that show. Yeah.
yes, and
It's
out of
good.
out of everybody, I was the only one who didn't have somebody who was living at home or had gone off and come back to living at home. And I didn't surprise me at all. I mean, didn't surprise me at all. And then we talked a little bit about the American dream and whether they even think it's possible. And I talk to people in the store about that all the time. I'm in Best Buy. The guy asked him about the American dream. He goes, "Well, I'm pretty humble about the American dream. I don't mind living with my parents as long as I need to. I want to buy a car." And I'm like, "What kind of car?" "A Ford Focus."
That's not too extravagant. It's not like he's buying a Corvette, you know. And I think it's okay to stay with your family and save money for an objective as long as you're working. I talked to one couple a couple days ago that son living with grandma, not working, asking for money all the time. It's like, and he's like in his early 20s. That's not, I don't know. That's kind of not what I would expect out of young people. I think most of them want to work.
I think so too. I mean, there are some jobs I get that they don't want to work. I don't think the average young person is like, "Hey, can I go to one of those meat packing places and go down on the killing floor where they, kill the cattle and then it's covered in blood and you do all this stuff?" Trust me, I get that there are some Americans who don't want that job. Give a green permit to somebody who's willing to do that because I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to think that the next generation is David's kids, my kids, your kids. And I really do think it is. But there's a lot of others out there that are not like our kids so much. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the most awful job would be a police officer. I can't imagine. I watch cops every once in a while. And I'm like, oh, these are your customers.
I know, and especially in this day and age. In fact, I've been saving stuff. I'm going to do a show on it. And that is, I've seen 5 or 6 videos on X in the past week where cops are nowhere to be found. So the people who were there took care of it. They took care of, one guy, they tried blocking off the road so he couldn't go through this Palestinian thing. He got out of the car. He started shoving people the hell out of the way. And he just said, "I got my daughter in my car. I'm going home. I'm moving this car. And if you want to stand there, that's up to you. But this car is going home." And just stuff like that. And I'm like, a lot of this wouldn't happen if people had respect for law and order. And
Right.
yet all of these instances happened because there wasn't a cop there at the time, or the cop wasn't willing. I mean, California and Seattle, they're so willing to let these people shut down an interstate for 4 or 5 hours instead of getting out there and clearing it.
That's bad.
Okay. All right. I got a clock and I am ready to go.
Okay, right.
We'll count it down in 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Richard Randall, and welcome to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She's the host of the program and the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate, and it does it with Colorado's Real Estate Authority, Barb Schlinker. Barb is a retired Navy veteran. Barb is an author. Barb Schlinker is also a pilot, and she and her team enjoy all that Colorado and the Front Range have to offer. Barb, always great to be talking with you. Now, we air Your Real Estate Voice every Saturday. If you can't listen to the entire show, you can visit Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or you can just search Barb on most of the popular podcast platforms or even on YouTube. What are we going to be talking about today, Barb?
Well, Richard, I like to start the show with the Colorado real estate market news and update as far as what's going on with home values, what's going on with pricing, what's going on with interest rates, because everybody asks that question all the time. And it changes. It changes week by week. I saw a big change just from right before Christmas to now. So it'll be fun talking about that. And then we're also going to cover the pros and cons of buying a house in the Colorado Springs area in 2024. You know, the National Association of Realtors just came out with a survey, and they found that 85% of buyers think it's a bad time to buy a house. So that's kind of heartbreaking, really. So we're going to kind of dive into that and talk about the advantages and disadvantages of the American dream, home ownership. Then we're also going to talk about what to fix and what not to fix to get your house ready for sale. That's the number one question besides what's my home worth that we get from home sellers. And we're going to go into some details, just give you some tips on how to prepare when you do sell your home. And last but not least, we'll talk about pricing, because that everything pivots around how a home is priced. So we're going to talk about pricing mistakes that could cost you thousands when you sell your home. And as always, I love featuring my hot new listings. Richard?
Now, Barb, as fewer people can afford homes with these higher interest rates, what can we expect to see going forward in 2024 when it comes to the real estate market and the real estate news?
Well, interest rates have a huge impact on generally on the buyer's ability to afford the home. And typically, interest rates and pricing are kind of what we call an inverse relationship. In other words, if the rates go up, the prices come down because fewer homes are selling. But the problem is that's not happening right now. So it's creating a lot of frustration for the few home buyers that can afford a home. So what we saw during the boom, which I think is very uncustomary in the months of 2021, 2021, even from the beginning of 2021 all the way through June of 2022, when the average interest rate was probably around 3%, we saw a massive volume of home sales, well over nationally 6.3 million. And so back before that, we were seeing probably 4 to 5 million was a pretty normal number. But what we're seeing right now is about 3.8 million on a national basis of home sales going on. So it's almost a 50% drop, but we've had interest rates double in the past year, actually. So rates have settled down just a little bit, but the prices have not stopped going up. And that is the problem. So if a buyer's coming into the market and they want to get a loan, they're going to have to make a higher payment in order to afford a home. So what we're seeing right now, as far as what the market is doing, just in general, Colorado Springs area, the median price for a home just from 2 weeks ago went from $499 to $517. So that's very much related to inventory and the number of available homes on the market. The reason why the inventory is trending down since mid-December is that, first of all, people that are sitting on really low interest rates, I've talked to people that had like 2.25%, 2.5% fixed interest rate. It's almost like free money, right? So their payment's very, very low. So if they are going to change their lifestyle, get a bigger house, get a smaller house, move to a different location, they have to think twice, because if they're getting a loan, their payment is going to be double or more. So that's why we're seeing fewer homes hit the market right now, is that it's an affordability factor for people that are moving up or moving down to a different home at this time. And just looking at the trends, the median price is kind of the same. The average price has actually gone up about 4%. Days on market are longer. Now that's very interesting. It could have something to do with the season. We just came off the holiday season where everybody's workload kind of quadruples, with everything going on with the holidays. So it is taking longer for homes to sell. But we are seeing right now, it's sort of like we bottomed out of where we're going to be in terms of pricing in December, and now the prices are headed back up. The days on market are staying relatively the same, but that's, again, a seasonality thing. But the number of sellers that are reducing their price has also come down. So they're just waiting it out until they can get the buyer that they want. And I've got a few sellers like that. There's a perception out there in the industry, especially with other real estate agents, that, oh, the market's not so hot anymore. You can ask for big concessions when you make an offer. It's okay. Don't worry. And so I get these ridiculous low offers. I got one the other day, Richard, where the buyer asked the seller to give them just a lower priced home in the fours, give them $31,000 in price concessions just because they wanted a lower interest rate. Why won't they accept that? It seems fine. And the buyer was an agent.
Oh my gosh. I sometimes these stories that you tell, I swear, Barb, I think it's like the Twilight Zone, that some of these either, people are buying, people are selling, or their agents even dare to bring up something like that.
Well, I actually called the lender just to find out what's going on here. Why are you asking for so much? It seems like a lot of money. He's like, oh, well, it's going to be fine. Don't worry. We'll get a 2-1 buy down, and then we'll get a permanent buy down. It's all going to be good for this buyer. And I'm like, but it's not good for the seller. What makes you think it's perfectly okay just to ask the seller to pay that? So it didn't make sense. And the home was priced below market, and he put a bunch of improvements in. So you know what that seller's doing? They're going to wait it out until they find the right buyer. And even a couple days after that, I got a really silly lowball offer, like more than 10% below asking. And I just said, look, I'm sorry, the seller is not accepting below asking price on their property right now. So they've just done a ton of improvements, so it's not going to happen. And I don't know. I just don't know if they're fishing out there, or if maybe they'll find somebody that's willing to concede those kind of things. And maybe they will, but that's not the house for them. So, and the seller's okay with waiting. But the key is you have to get what I call the 4 P's right. Preparation, get your home ready for sale, make it as nice as possible, because we know your competition is likely new construction. And then pick the right agent. There's some agents that don't put any effort into what they're doing, or maybe they don't understand how to prepare a home for sale, how to present it properly for sale. There could be those kind of issues. So shop around for that. Pricing is absolutely pivotal when you put a house on the market. It is a part of marketing. If you overprice a home, the buyers won't even come out and take a look at it. They just won't stretch their budget if it's out of their budget. And then, of course, getting the promotion right is absolutely critical. So we offer various free reports on our website, Barb Has the Buyers. You can go to barbhasthebuyers.com, click on the green button that says free reports, and download your free report there. We've got one here we're featuring the top 7 tips to get your house ready for sale. And then what we've seen is there has been a drop in the median price from last summer, but now it's heading back up again. So if the buyers are out there and are thinking of buying right now, I would not hesitate. I would not wait, because I do believe that, I think the prices, as they did last spring, are going to head back up again. And you could even face competition. But the key thing to really take a look at are the interest rates. If you see interest rates fall, especially with the inventory being low right now, chances are you might have to compete for a home. And if you're just a buyer thinking, well, I'll wait till the prices come way down, over time is just not going to happen. And unless something really strange takes place. Generally, a rule of thumb is if the rates climb, then you might see a little bit of concessions that you can get from sellers potentially, and the inventory will go up. But if the rates fall at all, and we already are at low inventory, you're going to see the inventory drop as well. And who is producing the inventory? Overall, it's the baby boomers that are putting homes on the market that are either downsizing, upsizing, moving to another location. But if you look at also interest rates over the past probably 3 decades, the median range is between 5 and 10%. And actually, I've heard that number to be right about 7. So are we going to see 3% interest rates again? No. We might see upper 5s, low 6s, which would be a great time to jump on buying a house if you get into the 5s. but definitely keep an eye on interest rates. As of yesterday morning, the rates were at 6.9%. And the impact on inventory is critical. So because the inventory is low, we do have a high demand situation, and 52% of all sellers are in the demographic of baby boomers. But who's buying a home? Guess what? It's the younger generation. There's more millennials and Gen Xers and Gen Zers. Those people are the ones that are what they call in the category of household formation. I just put one of my listings under contract yesterday where it's a young couple, they have a dog, they want to start a family. You know, it's that kind of, those are most of the buyers out there. So it's interesting to see what's going on right now. And the smart buyers are doing things like, you know, taking the time and living frugally and saving money for that big down payment on a house. My name is Barb Schlinker. I am the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. I'm also the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And we're talking about Colorado real estate news. And next up, we're going to be hitting on what buyers and sellers should expect into 2024. Richard?
Barb, we're discussing the current real estate market and how people can be prepared if they want to buy or sell for that matter. What should home buyers and sellers expect and do in this type of market situation?
Well, I would not wait if you can buy and you want to buy, because the trend has been up, even against all odds, against the Fed raising the interest rates faster than he ever has done in history, against the prices being high. The prices are still going up. And there's 45.5 million people entering that age of household formation. So there's higher demand. That means the prices are going to go up. So I wouldn't wait around too long. You can always refinance a home. And if you're a seller, I don't think it's a good idea to price it on the high side for quote negotiating room, because the buyers just won't look at it. They'll just pass it by. So that's kind of my advice in general. And of course, you always want to pick the right team to help you sell your home or help you buy your home. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900. Part of what we do is we offer a free in-home consultation on what to do, what not to do to get your house ready for sale. Plus, I'll show you the buyers that we have that be a high match for your home. I just met with some sellers a couple days ago and was able to at site in front of them, put their home up in my cash offer system and give them cash offers right out of the gate. I have over 27,800 buyers in waiting in my system, many of which would be a high match for your home. I'll show you those, plus give you tips on how to get your house ready for sale. Give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Barb, a lot of times people know that they're listening to the real estate voice, and that's what we're doing today. It's actually, let me go back on that. I lost my track on that. 3, 2, 1. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She's the host of the program. And if you are thinking of making a move, call Barb, 719-301-3900, or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of buying a house in Colorado Springs in 2024. Stay tuned for that.
I went a little long. I had to chop some stuff off.
I had no idea, because guess who forgot to start his clock? I try to configure this a little bit differently this time, and I don't think I helped myself. Give me 1 second. I need to run to the men's room. Ugh.
Hey, DJ, how's the audio? Is it okay?
It sounds good.
Oh, good. Okay. I brought my Yeti with me.
Pre-planning, we love it.
I don't, this laptop, it didn't have half the software I need. I'm like, oh. So this morning I'm scrambling, trying to download what I need to get it done.
I'm glad you did.
That's segment 3. Oh, I see what he's talking about here. Griff was like, you sent me the wrong one.
Yeah, but then he resent everything, so we have it right on our end, I think.
Segment 3, segment 3. Segment 2. That's not segment 2. That's really weird. Okay. What's happening? Twilight Zone of computers.
So segment 2 is still supposed to be the pros and cons of buying a house.
Yeah, but it shows up as segment 3 when I shoved it over to him, which is really weird. I don't know how it did that.
And then what to fix and what not to fix is still segment 3.
Yes, that's correct. But I don't.
That's
Oh,
how I
see what
printed it
happened.
out for Richard. So
That's really crazy. All right, I'll put this up in Slack and see if I can't open it on my iPad. I've got
so
two screens.
segment 2 is pros and cons of buying a house in Colorado Springs in
Yes.
2024.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
You got it? All right.
Yeah, it's like this computer has.
Gonna work here or not.
I
but
was
we'll-
doing it when I was driving. Well, I wasn't driving. Mark was driving. So I had to, at one point, the sun was so bright, I had to put a blanket over my head so I could see what I was doing.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's see. Okay, I'm good to go here when you're ready, Barb. And I'll make sure to
Okay.
start the clock. I'll count us down in 3, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She's the host of the program, and this is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate, and it does it with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb, if someone is thinking of buying a house right now, what is it that would make buyers wait to buy or choose to buy now?
Well, Richard, right now there is not a good sentiment out there overall about whether or not it's a good time to buy a home. And I totally get that. The prices are high, the interest rates are higher than they have been for at least 10 years. And 85% of Americans think it's a bad time to buy a house. But, pretty much the number one reason is just simply affordability. If they're going to get a loan, and the prices haven't come down yet, the rates have gone up, their payment is a lot higher and it's just not affordable. But we partner with our son to buy a home out here in California. I'm out visiting right now. And I was, at the time, the market seemed kind of soft. I remember when I went out shopping with the agent, I was asking her, hey, what's the market like around here? And she goes, oh, pretty much most of these homes are overpriced by about 15,000, and there's some negotiating room. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we ended up negotiating. We got a good deal on this price, on this house. And I talked to her probably a week or so after closing. I said, how's the market now? She goes, oh my God, as soon as you got your contract on the house, there was bidding wars on everything. So the markets could change on a dime. And typically, part of it is seasonal in different parts of the country. Like Arizona is on fire in the wintertime because the weather's so beautiful there in the winter. But places like Colorado are red hot in the spring and summer. Okay. But you have more competition. So our price is going to come down. That's not what we saw last year. Right after the Fed raised the rates up to 7.5%, it kind of waggled and just sort of stayed the same. And all of a sudden, from February through June, every single month, the prices went up. And then we're seeing kind of the same trend again this year. The rates went all the way up over 8% back in October, and it definitely created demand destruction on buyers. There were still sales going on, but not as much. But now that the rates have kind of ticked back down into the kind of upper sixes at this point, we're seeing prices trending back up again right after the holidays. So what we are going to see, I think, from February through June again, is the prices going up. So do not wait if you're ready and you find a good home. That's my recommendation. You can always refinance when the rates drop. But this is the reason. The reason prices haven't come down and the reason why there's low availability of homes right now is what I call the golden handcuffs. If more than half the home sellers are boomers, even if they did have a loan, didn't have a loan, and they got refinancing on their home, they probably got really, really low interest rates, 2.5%, maybe 3%. And if they're moving now and they have to get a loan, they're going to be paying 2.5 times higher on interest rate, which means their payment's going to be higher. So there are some people thinking twice about selling if they don't have enough equity to pay cash for their next home. So what are the cons or disadvantages of buying a house? Right now, number one is the fact that rates are higher and it affects the affordability for house payments. Another thing that I found in my research is with some people, there's kind of uncertainty in job or income. And I will tell you that people that have the hardest time getting loans are people that are self-employed like me or part-time workers. Sometimes the lenders won't count if one of your family members is working part-time unless they've been there for a long period of time. The other issue is the lack of funds or lack of cash or the depletion of their cash reserves. There are some people that save money pretty well, but they don't want to, drain their savings for that. And then another disadvantage really is the responsibility of caring for a home. The one benefit of being a renter is you don't have to fix anything, right? Generally, if something breaks, you call your landlord, and for the most part, they're going to take care of it. But when you own a home, if things break, you have to fix it. Like we just replaced our microwave for the 4th time. So, and it was kind of cool. We finally got a good salesman at the appliance store, and he goes, yeah, well, you had the kind of microwave that was designed to be countertop, and that's supposed to be not a different kind of, and that's probably why it failed. And I'm surprised it lasted that long. So it was good to find somebody that knew his product. So a lot of buyers will do what's called a rent versus buy analysis. Now, what is that? It means if I'm going to go out and rent a home right now, what does that cost me? And if I'm going to buy a home, what does that cost me, right? And how much do I need to save to buy a home? When the rates were down at 3% or less, it was actually cheaper to buy a home than it was to rent, but it was harder to get into a home because there was so much competition for homes at the time. But that's changed now. In fact, I remember back then I helped one young lady sell her home, and she only had it was less than 2 years. And she sold it and put 95,000 in her pocket. So she was pretty thrilled. But those times, hitting the market just right like that is kind of few and far between. So, the question is, will we see 3% rates again back, what we saw a year and a half ago? Not likely. I'd be surprised. I think that was an artificial effort. And correct me if I'm wrong, Richard, but wasn't the Fed buying bonds to buy down the interest rate to make homes more affordable for a number of years? So we were basically paying that with our tax dollars. Is that correct?
That's my understanding. Absolutely.
Yes, I don't think that's going to happen anymore. There's no requirement for what they called quantitative easing of interest rates. And so back when I first started in the real estate business back in the 90s, when I first bought my home, when I first moved in Colorado Springs, I think the rates were, I don't know, maybe 9-ish, something like that. And then very quickly they dropped down to 7. I remember watching my broker doing the happy dance going, oh my God, the rates are at 7. This is the lowest since the 50s. So these are good rates. If it's unaffordable, I would recommend that you kind of, save some money for a while and just plan on it, because I doubt that they're ever going to get back to 3%. The other thing that some buyers worry about, and that could be a disadvantage, is the uncertainty of whether or not their home is going to go up in value. And overall, over the long term, they will. If you're thinking of turning over a home in 2 years and making a profit, it's kind of doubtful because there are selling expenses involved. So you have to consider when you buy how long you're going to hold on to a home. And basically, in most cases, though, having a mortgage will allow your monthly payment to be fixed versus if you were renting every month, or I'm sorry, every year, typically your rental rate will likely go up. And that's not the case for mortgages, with tiny exceptions like the small adjustments to property taxes or homeowners insurance. But other than that, your payment should be relatively the same. So you have to factor in how long you're going to keep the house. And then I just want to do a quick little piece on if you did buy a home and you run into trouble and you can't make payments, what should you do? I know there's probably not too many of our listeners out there that are in that situation, but if you know somebody, have them call me, ask for help. I mean, I helped well over 100 people back during the meltdown avoid foreclosure. I can help them now. I'm helping somebody right now. There are a lot of people that overpaid for a home just a few years ago, back in 2021. And if they get in trouble, maybe they got qualified on two incomes in the family. If one person loses income, now they're in trouble, right? And they have trouble making their payments. So what happened to one of my customers is that exact thing happened. One person lost their job, the other one was working. They tried to work out something with the lender. And then when they came back and said, okay, we're all fixed, now you're going to have to make a payment that's 1.5 times what you were making to catch up. They still couldn't afford it, and they're facing foreclosure. So having a foreclosure is bad, and walking away is bad. It's not the end of the world, but it's not the best thing that could happen. So if you can somehow sell it, I would try to sell it. There are investors out there that will sell their souls to get a deal on a house, especially if you are carrying a low interest rate. Some loans aren't good for assuming, like a VA loan is a little bit tough to do. But here's the penalty if you let the house go to foreclosure. If your house forecloses, according to a lender I just spoke to, you as the person cannot go and buy another house for 10 years. That's a long time. But if you miss a house payment and then you ultimately sell the home or get caught up, either way, it just means you can't buy another house for 2 years. 2 years isn't so bad. Did you know that, Richard?
I had no idea. That's why this program is so good. No idea at all.
Yeah. So, in maintaining good credit's really important for a lot of aspects in your life. Ability to buy a house, ability to rent a car, buy a car, get the best insurance rates, rent a home, even getting bank accounts. So it's good to keep your credit. If it gets dinged up, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Typically, you can solve the problem over time. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice, and the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And we're talking about the pros and cons of buying a house. And when we come back, we'll talk about a few benefits of buying a house. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can always reach her at 719-301-3900. And if you're in your car and you cannot listen to the entire show, you can catch Barb on her YouTube channel, Barb Has the Buyers. Barb, we're discussing the pros and cons of buying a home and why a credit rating is so important. What are the benefits of buying a house?
Well, number one, your monthly payment is going to remain stable. It will not likely go up very much at all, whereas rent does go up. And then over time, you're actually paying down that mortgage. So you're building equity or value to that asset. Plus, you can customize it to your own taste. You don't have to worry about making your landlord's payments. Nobody has any control over what your house looks like unless they're an HOA, and then they have control over the outside. And there's definitely a way where you can actually build equity, and with just making your monthly payments. You're going to make monthly payments anyway if you're renting. Why not have it be an investment of which that you can own, and over time You could pay it off. And for some people, it's their only investment that they have over time when it's time to retire. Plus, there are some tax advantages to owning a home depending on your income. So there's a lot of benefits of owning a home. And if you have a high rate right now, you can refinance. Some people refinance their home and take equity out of their home to do certain projects. And of course, there's always an emotional aspect of owning a home. There's the pride of ownership. You have the sense of community. You have the ability to make it yours, and you have the stability of being in the community as a homeowner, as an investor in the community. And I think overall, it's a great thing that they've done in this country. It's not the same in other countries. You know, places like Europe, there is not a lot of home ownership going on. Is that correct, Richard?
Exactly. I mean, it's quite the opposite.
Yeah. So, and a lot of people think that they cannot buy a house. So, and they don't know that you can actually reach out to a mortgage broker and find out if you qualify. If they say no, no harm, no foul, and you wait some time period and get things sorted out until it is time to do it. But at the end of the day, a lot of people think it hurts their credit to apply for a mortgage, and actually just the opposite is true. We actually have a mortgage broker in our office now. We're kind of becoming a one-stop shop, and you can actually ask for a free pre-approval. And so they don't charge anything for that, and they can run your credit and see how you're doing, give you tips on how to get ready to buy a house. And there are programs here in this area right now where you could buy a home with as little as $1,000 out of pocket. So I wouldn't hesitate if you think it's something that's on your radar to buy a home, because it is a good investment over time. And we actually have agents on my team that will go help you find that home. They won't just rely on what's on Zillow. They'll actually go out there and market to get you a home. So give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb's the host of the program, and if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing what to fix and what not to fix when you're getting your home ready for sale. I resisted the temptation to say, stay tuned for that. I lean on that a little too much, I think, sometimes.
So that's a new segment. I ran a little long, but
I
what do you
love
think?
it, though. No, I think it's good. And I couldn't tell you if you were a second under or a second over, what with me actually not starting my clock again. All right.
My clock always starts. I don't know what the problem is.
Well, I configured myself slightly different, and it doesn't sound like a big deal, but I'm on the other side of the microphone, and my mouse makes it I have to reach all the way across to start. Whatever. I shouldn't be bitching about this. Okay, I have a new clock that this time I will, in fact, turn on.
All right.
You good, Barb?
I'm ready.
All right. Count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, if someone is thinking of selling their home, what are some of the top things a home seller should wait, hang on.
Sorry, those
No,
words
that's
aren't.
okay. I'll go from the top. But you know what?
Okay.
We had an issue
You have
here.
to ad lib a little bit.
I know we had an issue here, and I normally pre-read and mark it up. This time I did not. 3, 2, 1. Now, Barb, if someone is thinking of selling their home, what are some of the top things a home seller should plan on fixing, and what not to fix when they're preparing their homes for sale?
Well, Richard, before you go and start upgrading your home, give us a call. Ask me. A lot of people do that. They'll go, what do we do? What do we not do to get our house ready for sale? And it really depends. It depends on the price range, the market conditions. It depends on your competition. A lot of people think they have to do a full-on rehab. Well, maybe not in certain price ranges. So we will cover that live in person if you want. We do know, though, that buyers will eliminate homes that have obvious, what we call deferred maintenance, right? So if it's really obvious that the carpet is bad, or if it's really obvious that it needs paint, if you can see that in the pictures online, especially on the outside, there's going to be some buyers that are just going to pass it by and go, I don't really want to do any work, or I don't have the cash to do the work. Now, the one exception to that is if the home is priced what I call very realistically or aggressively. Like I just sold a home out east off of Hodgen Road, really nice rancher with a finished basement on 5 acres. But the seller's strategy was, hey, I don't want to do any repairs. I'm not doing that. I just assume sell it quickly as is and not have to deal with that. And so we priced it the right way. We actually got a contract right away, 100% as is, meaning in the contract, they put, we might do an inspection, but we're not going to ask you to fix anything. And that's exactly what happened. And we sold it for full price. Everybody was happy in that case. They got a really nice building on 5 acres that's going to need some work, but they had the resources to do it, and they were happy to get a home in that area at that price. But we know if you don't get the house prepared for sale, the buyers are going to make that decision on their phones, on their computers in less than a minute as to whether or not they're even going to be bothered to drive out and drive by your home or go see your home. If it doesn't look good online, pretty much they're not going to play unless it's priced really, really aggressively. So how do you really know what to fix or what not to fix? I did some research on this. It's kind of interesting. Like as an example, does a bathroom remodel increase value? In a way it does, but in another way, it keeps it from being eliminated. So if you look at the average amount of return on investment that you'll get from a bathroom remodel, it's not 100%, so not 150%, it's only 70%. However, if it wasn't remodeled, it could mean that a buyer's not even going to go look at it or not even going to make an offer on that home because they don't want to do the work either, if that makes sense. So over time, it's always best to try to keep your home somewhat updated as the years go by. And it could, in that case, it would just mean the home either did or didn't sell for top dollar or not selling at all. And, you know, it's interesting. I found some stats from Zillow that they said that for minor cosmetic changes, it could bring you as much as $1.71 for every $1 you put in improvements. I would say definitely that's true for flooring. Flooring's a big deal for people. Things like paint, only if the paint is non-neutral, like the red walls, the turquoise walls, the fuchsia walls, whatever. All those things really need to be neutralized to sell it. Cabinets, if they look tired and worn, although a lot of people lately have been just painting cabinets and it looks amazing. Updated mirrors, really inexpensive thing that you can do. Hardware, another very inexpensive thing that you can do. And appliances, a little more expensive. And lighting and flooring absolutely are a game changer for a lot of people. Just for flooring, from what I found on statistics, it says that you'll get 140% return on 47% return on your investment. However, I think it's actually more than that, because here's the thing. When a buyer goes and looks at a home, what they want is to look at the whole package, just like a car, and go, I love it, I'll take it. They want to move in, drop their stuff, get on with their lives, and not have to put any money into the home initially, maybe later down the road, but initially, they don't want to have to feel like I can't live in this home unless I have new carpet, right? So I think you're going to get more than that when it comes to flooring. And then also other cosmetics. You don't have to worry too much about things like normal wear and tear, a little bit of dings in the paint, not a big deal. Minor hardwood scratches on the floor, not a huge deal unless you can see really big traffic areas. Grandfathered building code issues. I see that an awful lot, like the older homes don't have as many ground fault circuit interrupter circuits, those little electrical outlets that pop. Those weren't required to be everywhere like they are now, but that's not a problem. I wouldn't worry too much about that. I would just give the inspector something to whine about. And then you also don't have to worry about little minor switches. That's probably not a big thing right there. But if you see things like your outlets are mismatched, like your electrical outlets where you've got the beige inside and the white on the outside, it's better to have them all match if you can do that. Another thing that a lot of people ask me about are concrete cracks. Not a big deal. I mean, most builders will tell you that's the one guarantee you have in a house is concrete is gonna crack. However, especially in this climate, if it's not a trip hazard, it's not a big deal. You could probably put a sealer on it. If you see a big raise, like a inch or two from one level to the next in concrete where it's a trip hazard, that actually could get tagged by an appraiser. The other thing is building code issues. They don't require, in most cases, for you to bring the home up to today's building code, even though the inspector is probably going to tag it. I actually had somebody just a few weeks ago, Richard, say that they wanted a new roof because it was 10 years old. It was 10 years and 2 months old, and they wanted a new roof because their insurance wouldn't cover it. But there's nothing wrong with the roof. And we're like, no, that's not going to work. So we had to spend the time and money to go get a couple of roofers out to say, there's nothing wrong with the roof. Go get new insurance. And that one's going through. It is good to fix things like new vanities, old light fixtures, tired flooring, appliances are a good thing to upgrade. People do care about those. Old kitchen counters, especially if they're broken. I've had some clients put a coating over the top of their counters, and that looks very nice in certain price ranges. I wouldn't do that in the high price range because a higher price range, they're expecting all the bells and whistles and Corinthian leather. And don't worry too much about minor paint flaws, but I do worry about neutralization of paint. Another thing that kind of actually is out of style, but it was really big in the early 2000s was faux paint. Everybody had faux paint everywhere. Do you remember seeing that, Richard?
Everywhere. No,
Yeah.
no doubt about that. Sometimes these false cracks in the wall, everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it was pretty at the time. And there are some applications of that are still pretty. So if it's just a powder room, don't worry too much about that. But if it's your entire great room, family room, you might want to neutralize it. That kind of example. Another thing that we hear a lot about are popcorn ceilings. So that was just kind of a lazy application of drywall that the builders did back in the 80s and 90s, that instead of doing the knockdown ceiling, they just blow it on and leave it like it was. And I don't know why, but buyers don't like it. Now, depending on the price range, it may not be worth it to go to the trouble to scrape it and make it look better. I don't think I would do it in every case. It's also hard to paint. But and some of the 70s houses, you have to worry about asbestos. So before you touch it, make sure you talk to a professional about it. The other thing are colors. So colors change on an annual basis as far as what's in style and what's not. In general, if you're neutral, you're probably going to be good. Exterior paint, the big thing is to worry about just peeling paint on the outside. And this is part of what we do, an in-home consultation on what to do, what not to do to get your house ready for sale, go over all the closing costs, give you a good range of what your home will sell for and how much you'll put in your pocket when it sells. So if you are interested, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. We have 27,800 buyers in waiting, plus our cash buyers. There's a really good chance that we have a high match for your home. And you just have to call us at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. That's Barb Schlinker. She is the host of the program and the proprietor and owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can reach her at 719-301-3900. 3900. And if you're in your car and you cannot listen to the entire show, don't worry. You can catch it on Barb's YouTube channel, Barb Has the Buyers, or you can check it out on podcast as well. So, Barb, what are some of the other things that a home seller should not do to get their home ready for sale?
Well, I get this question a lot, like if they're gonna take the window coverings down to paint, and maybe the house is empty and they aren't, they always ask me, should they put the window coverings back up again? And I would say no. They actually look better without window coverings. If you go into models, they might have a few valances, but they don't have heavy window coverings because they just conflict too much with the actual building itself. Another thing you would want to do, though, if you have heavy floral, heavy pattern drapes, I would take those down and just put up some shears, because it really does kind of overwhelm the room in many ways. And it's one of those things that came and went in style. But as far as outdated appliances, the best thing you have to worry about is, do you have a color match? I had one that just sold with very, very dated appliances, and we did get that feedback here and there that it needed updating, and that was pretty much the only space that needed updating. But ultimately, we did sell it for the right price just by neutralizing the flooring. Refrigerator, washer, and dryer are considered personal property. So if you leave them with the house, it's a gift to the buyer. I would not worry about those at all. An appraiser is only going to give you $150 of value for each one, and it's not worth worrying too much about those. But the big thing is we can provide you with a checklist on how to get your house ready for sale, and that includes things like clutter, neutralize and paint, all kinds of stuff. The key is to make sure you tackle the project getting ready for sale one room at a time. It's very easy to get distracted and go from one room to the next, and then really nothing gets done, and it becomes very overwhelming. Box away any unused clothes, get everything off the floor in the master closet. It makes it look bigger. And kitchens and baths, focus on those. Everything off the counter, rugs off the floor for photos. Even consider renting a storage space so that you can put things that you want to keep, but you don't want to leave them out for showing. And the rooms that you have to focus on are curb appeal, number one, because they are going to drive by. And if they don't like the outside, you can't get them in the door. Flooring, number two, neutralize paint, clean, 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 declutter, and we can help you do that. Our team will help you get your home photo ready by giving you tips on what to do and what not to do to get it ready for sale. And we include staging consults and support for photo day, even photo edits to make it show really well. So if you are interested in moving, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, host of the program, and with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb 719-301-3900 or just visit barbhasthebuyers.com. When we come back, we'll be discussing pricing mistakes that can cost you thousands when you're selling your home, plus Barb's hot new listings. You don't want to miss that. I think you don't want to miss that. Why? You know what? I thought I wasn't starting my clock. I have hit my clock the last two times, and for whatever reason,
It's not starting.
well, it must be, it has some, oh my God, I don't even know what it does. You know what? It's got a thing that,
You broke it when you put it in dark mode.
well, I think, I don't even know what I did. It's got this clock that zooms the numbers at me, and then, I'll figure it out. I'm like, it's
Doesn't
hard
matter.
enough, damn it, without me looking over there, because
Really
look
doesn't
over,
matter.
it's
I
like,
got you guys covered. It's
I know.
not like you go way over.
I'm watching the clock. Forget it.
I'm watching it too.
I got it right in front of me on my phone telling me.
Well,
Hurry up,
mostly
stop talking.
it annoys me because I thought I came up with this great idea in terms of taking care of it. And apparently I didn't come up with as much a great idea as I thought I had. So That can happen.
Hurts Richard's
I
feelings.
know. All right. We got a
We'll all have a cry afterwards.
yeah, exactly. So let's go with I'll just count us down. 3. Oh, sorry.
Uh-oh. Did I lose you?
We're good.
Okay. I heard a noise that sounded computer-wise fatal.
You ready? David's ready. Barb, you ready?
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate, with the host of the program, Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb, a lot of people look at those automated valuations like on Zillow, or they check with their neighbor's asking price to determine what their home is worth, especially now that it's taking a little bit longer to sell a home. What does a home seller decide what price to set when they are selling their home?
Well, Richard, pricing a home correctly could mean the difference between a home seller getting top dollar in this market, or it's sitting on the market for a long time, showing after showing, and may sell, may not. And it really does wear down on sellers to get any kind of negative feedback. What we do is we seek to get feedback on every showing that takes place. We want to know what the buyer thought when they looked at the home, and we share that with the seller. And there are times when the agents, how should I say, lack tact in the words that they use. Like I had one seller, and this is a really successful story. We had 46 people at the 1 hour open house. We went on to have 17 showings after that. But one of the agents gave feedback that said, "Oh, this home just has too many bumps and bruises for this buyer." Now, it's a 37-year-old home. Of course, it's going to have bumps and bruises, but he goes, "I was up all night." I was very hurt by that, you know. And you have to, when you're selling a home, you really have to expect that there's gonna be some people that it's not the right home for them. It doesn't matter how pretty it is or how well it's presented. There is going to be some critics out there that it doesn't work for them. And it's just a numbers game until you find the buyer that loves your home, that wants to buy it. It's just that simple. But for some people, they get very offended of people's opinion. And I know there's a lot of heart and soul and funds and resources that go into making homes look good. But at the end of the day, even the homes that are priced super aggressively, that might have 60 showings and 15 offers, and I did just have 2 of those last month, had some feedback that said, "Nah, needs too much work," right? It's just going to happen. So this is why pricing is so important. If you price it too high, it's going to impact the volume of showings and, of course, the volume of offers. Let me give an example. I had a home last summer that was in the northwest part of town. Beautiful home, really beautiful, very, very meticulously cared for, lots of updating, gorgeous new modern kitchen, gorgeous new modern master bath. It had just about everything you would want, including a beautiful lot in a great school district. And the sellers decided to really push the price envelope from the beginning. So initially, we were kind of light on showings, light on attendance in the open house, no offers. And then after a while, he did lower the price, maybe about 5%. And at that point, we started getting offers, but they were still low offers, right? They were still low offers after he just lowered the price 5%. That's very tough for a seller to take because they're like, "I just lowered the price." But buyers don't care where you were in your pricing. They care about what's in front of them right now. So to me, it meant we were close if we were getting offers. Before we weren't getting offers, so we were too high. But if we're getting offers, we're kind of getting close. And he was very stubborn. He would not accept an offer below asking price. And we got probably a half dozen offers below asking price. We even had one buyer that went and put a letter in his mailbox and said, "I really love the house, but I only want to pay this much. How come you won't accept it?" I don't know if they didn't trust that I was sending the offer to him. I don't know, it's crazy. But that buyer went on to buy a new home. And that's the problem, is if it's just a little bit too high, right? they are going to go and look at other options. And then they get lured into brand new, fresh and new, even though the lot wasn't as pretty, there was probably everything about that new home that they bought that wasn't better than this one. It was a budget thing for them, and it wasn't the right house for them. So if it sits on the market for a long time, it used to be a bad thing during the boom. It's not right now. It's okay if you want to wait it out. And he did. He waited it out. Finally, the first buyer that brought an offer came back and made a similar offer, and we negotiated. And he ended up taking about a 3% reduction on the asking price. Not too bad, but the activity actually is what you have to focus on. Don't worry about the feedback. I would worry about the volume of showings. If you're just getting onesies, twosies, slow drip of showing, chances are you're priced too high. Or if you're getting showings and no offers, you're a little bit high. It's somewhere in the range. If you're priced too low, you're going to get offers. You're going to get a huge volume of buyers taking a look at it. Some people are going to come in low with their offers, and some are going to offer over asking price. And that can happen on a home that's priced what I call very realistically. But if you price the home what I call in the right spot, the Goldilocks spot of just right, kind of on the low side of similar sales, you're going to get lots of showings and you're going to get offers in a short amount of time. Let me give you an example. I had one last month that I sold in the southwest part of town, older 4-level home, very well updated. Similar sales were in the range of 470 to 570. That's a big range. I'm talking about identical square footage in the neighborhood. So it was really hard to figure out, where do we position the home to get it sold? And so we had a discussion. We talked about the goals of the seller, and he wanted it sold. He didn't want to mess with us too long. So he decided to price it on the low side of similar sales. So he priced it, so the range is 470 to 570. He priced it at 499. We had, I think it was 35 people at the short open house. We went on to do another dozen or so showings, and it sold. We had 2 offers on the same day, and it sold for full price in just a few days. That is the Goldilocks number. And on top of that, the buyer didn't ask for concessions because it was the best deal on the market for them. They didn't have to worry about paying the buyer's loan closing cost or anything like that. And they let the seller stay in the house for a month after closing, which all by itself had some value. So sometimes all the stars align. And because he priced it right, it happened. Had he priced up in the 550 range, he'd probably still been on the market at this point. And that's part of what we do. So if you are planning to move, give us a call anytime at 719-301-3900. You're welcome to go up on my website, Barb Has the Buyers, and download our free report entitled How to Get the Price You Want and Need, but you really need an expert to help you. Pricing it right takes expertise. Not in years of being a real estate agent, because there are some real estate agents that may sell none or one home a year and be in the business for 30 years and not really have the expertise or not really know the market and have the experience of sales to know how to price a home correctly. It's about the volume of sales and how to price a home competitively, which is one of the number one things that home sellers want from their agents. And also how to position the home to command the most money. Some people actually try to squeeze way more money out of a home just because they want the net proceeds for something that they're going to do with the house later. And I would love to do that for everybody. I would love to get them all the most money. But at the end of the day, the market is going to decide what it's going to sell for. The things that can tip the scale either way have to do with pricing and promotion, which is what an agent will help you do. And that's what we do. We basically sit down, we give you a really good idea what your home will sell for. We'll go over all the closing costs and let you know exactly how much you're going to put in your pocket when it sells. This is what buyers are looking at when they're out there looking for homes. That's why you have to look at not just what has sold in the past, but you have to look at the competition. What is the buyer looking at right now? What can they get in their price range that's similar to your home? So we take a hard look at that, because that's very important to buyers as well. Buyers are actually making what I call a go, no go decision as to whether or not they're even going to leave their fuzzy bunny slippers and drive by your house based on your decisions on pricing. So it's absolutely critical. And then once you're on the market, the activity, the volume, as I just mentioned, leaves clues. And I sit down and show sellers this all the time. People that in their neighborhood put their house on the market, they priced it way up here, and slowly, week after week after week, made these tiny price adjustments. When you do that, you actually net less money. So it's not a good deal. So my name is Barb Schlinker. I am the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. I'm also the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the team leader of Barb Has the Buyers team. We're talking about pricing mistakes that could cost you thousands when you're selling your home. And one of them is just that. When you slowly walk the price down, you're going to net less money. You're better off being priced out of the gate very realistically. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some things that a seller should do to price their home the right way. Pricing is actually a target, it's a form of marketing, it's a strategy, and it's a way to attract or repel buyers when you're selling a home. And it's a strategy for negotiation. So I get this question all the time about, should I price it high and expect negotiating room? And that's a huge mistake to do that. They won't even come and see it because they're looking at your competition. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She's the host of the program, and you can listen to replays of the show anytime on all of the major podcast platforms and YouTube channel, Barb Schlinker. If you're thinking of making that move, call Barb, 719-301-3900. Barb, let's talk about some of the other magic bullets on pricing your home to get that top dollar.
Well, this market has changed. It changes all the time. It changed a lot since the boom started. The boom ended, which was June of 2022. So do not expect a bidding war. There are some sellers still getting multiple offers, but that's only if they're priced very realistically. And you need to hire an agent that really understands pricing. If you price it very realistically versus optimistically, that always works. It always commands top dollar, even if the house needs work. So we take a look at similar sales, comparing apples to apples. You have to put your buyer's hat on when you do this, and it has to be a very objective decision. And it also depends on your goals. Some people don't mind sitting on the market for a while, waiting for the right buyer. There's nothing wrong with that. But a lot of people don't. So I just had a home sell that priced it because they want to sell rather quickly at the low end, that very realistic price range of similar sales. We had 46 people at the open house. We went on to do another 20 showings, and we got a great offer right away in just a couple of days. When the average days on market right now is 105 days, we did that one in 5 days. So if you are thinking of making a move, that's what we do. Give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker on Your Real Estate Voice. Dang it. 3, 2, 1. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of, I see, you know what, I got this screwed up. But okay. 3, 2, 1. You're listening to Barb Schlinker. She's the host of the program, and this is Your Real Estate Voice. If you're thinking of selling your home, want to get in touch with Barb, want to get the most money, give her a call at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Lightning round, Barb. Tell us about your upcoming homes.
Well, I've got a great home way out east on 40 acres with a huge barn under 400,000. Great home down in Fountain in the mid 4s. Beautiful townhome in Briargate in the low 3s. Fabulous home on Brundage and Fountain, new furnace, new flooring. It looks amazing in the low 4s. Amazing home with an RV garage plus a detached 2-car garage on Cunningham in the mid 4s. spectacular home on Palma Valley that backs to dedicated open space in the upper sixes. Great home on 5 acres on Gull Lane out in Peyton, and a spectacular home in Woodmore on Winding Hills Drive. Beautiful scenic home there. Another new listing is on Sonoma Drive, priced at $275. We're going to be featuring that one open today. And then a spectacular home down in Fountain at 4099 with a 3-story stucco shed that's got heating. That's a really cool place for kids to play. To find out all about our homes, you can go to barbhasthebuyers.com and look at our featured properties, or give us a call at 719-301-3900. Richard?
That'll be it for this week, Barb. Great heads up on many of these homes. And of course, I like to remind people that you're not just real estate. You have learned through experience how to market and how to negotiate. That'll be it for this week. Give Barb a call at 719-301-3900, or again, barbhasthebuyers.com. Barb, have a great week. Stay warm.
Thank you. You as well.